So you're married, you're 21,
Yes.
you're working at Starbucks, and you're trying to figure out life. Why the insurance business?
Because so he introduced me to this and I was like, okay, how far could this go?
Yeah.
And so I start talking to him. He's like, yeah, I made my first 6 figures when I was 20. And I was like, tell me about this more. And so we get in a meeting, start talking, and he's like, you legit could make 6 figures like doing this. And I was like, what? So I got there and I was like, let's do this. Like, why not?
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. And we have got another special episode with a special guest for you today. We are here on set in Dallas, Texas at the SWAT event, Strategic Wealth Accumulation Tactics, with Nate Offert. Nate was one of the coaches on the Ultimate Agent, along with myself, for the Ultimate Agent contest hosted by Cody Askins. And today I've got a treat for you because we have one of those contestants live in-house. We're on set and we're bringing in Mr. Johnny Nitafan from Mesa, Arizona. Johnny, welcome to the Life Insurance Academy podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, man. It feels good.
Boom. Dude, how long you been in the business?
So I started 6 months ago.
Yeah.
We started with employee benefits.
Yeah.
And so started early December.
Yeah.
And so started rolling, but then I actually just started life about 2 months ago. This is going on my 3rd month, so 2 months.
How did you get in the Ultimate Agent contest so quick? How did you get connected to this network? How do we even know you? Like, how did this all happen?
No, it's honestly crazy. And first of all, like, it's all God, to be honest. Like, the reason I really am here, because without him, it wouldn't be possible. And my beautiful wife, that's actually in the studio with us today too, being able to listen in. It's awesome. So just definitely
behind the scenes.
Definitely huge support from her as well. But when I heard this, I was just imagine like I'm in the Zoom room, Rising Stars, and I'm listening to Cody talk, roll out this thing after you guys just came back from Puerto Rico. And so I'm like, okay, there's something good cooking. There's something good cooking besides JJ Barea speaking. And I was like, okay. And then he announces the Ultimate Agent and puts the link in the chat. He's like, you guys are the first to know. And I was like, I'm registering. So I was the first one to register. Boom, put it out there. And I was like, okay, all right, like put it out there, put my name in the hat. We'll see what happens. Right? Yeah. So then my wife and I are talking later that night, right before I go to bed. And I'm like, you know those ideas that you get right before you go to bed?
Some of the best ones.
And like you literally like about to go to sleep and then you're like on time this time, like 8:30, going to sleep. And I'm like, I could really do this thing. Like if I do this, this could be a life-changing opportunity. So I see it and I'm like, holy cow, this could change the trajectory of our life. So I'm like, okay, like scheming, how could I do this? How could I do this? We're thinking about people I could like help me to be able to get onto this contest. So I'm like, okay, who can I talk to support the show? Because I want to provide Cody with some value, provide him, get his attention, see who I could get to sponsor. I'm like, I actually know a guy who owns United Healthcare, owns it. And I'm like, imagine if that, like, I was like, okay. But so I texted the guy who works on his jets and I was like, hey, cause he's my mentor just in my spiritual walk. And I was like, hey, what if I could get him? And he's like, I don't really touch that. So I was like, okay. Who else could I tap into? And I was like, there's a guy, his name's Leon, and he was actually my regulars at Starbucks. And so I just grew a great relationship with him, and he believed in me from the start. And so I was like, okay, reach out to him. And I'm like, what could, like, hey, there's this thing, it could really help me propel my career, all this stuff. Like, it would be awesome if you could help, because I know this would bring so much exposure to you. Turns out he gets on a call with Cody the next day, decides to do it. It's this whole process, and it's like, boom. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we got a sponsor. What else can we do? Like, how we got to think outside the box here.
You were really fighting for a spot. You were trying to bring value back to Cody and on this deal.
Yeah, because one thing I've learned is you got to provide value first. And people love if you're able to give first because they want to give, but they got to know what you're doing and that you're serious. So I was like, okay, got the sponsor, and I'm like, now what? So then I'm like, I need to blow up his phone. I don't have his number, but I need to find out how can I blow up his phone that I'm like there. How can I do that? So I'm like, okay.
He's all in.
So I'm like, okay, I'm posting my video, and I go through my texts. I copy and paste the same text. Tag Cody right now on my post to everybody. Just like probably sent 150 text messages. Okay. So then I go on Instagram, I post it and tag him, and he reposts it, which was cool, but he was reposting everybody. So I was like, I'm not special here.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post it on there and DM everybody. So I DM everybody I can, tag him. And 100 people ended up commenting and just blew up his phone. And funny story about that is that when we got there, when we were in the meeting, there in Springfield, right? His social media manager, like that runs his Instagrams, is like
Alex.
Yeah, Alex. She's like, Johnny, you blew my phone up. And Cody was seeing everything too, and I was like, sweet, I did what I wanted to do. So
you were really trying to get attention by doing that. So
Totally.
we got to know each other for a little while. I won't say how long or how short, right? At our undisclosed location, and we got to connect, and I got to learn about your life, a little bit about your backstory. Yeah. Why the insurance business for you?
Okay, so my father-in-law actually introduced me to the insurance world.
Mm-hmm. How old are you first?
I'm 21.
21. And you're already married?
Married.
To your beautiful Bailey?
Yes. When you know, you know.
When you know,
right?
you know.
We did things right. We definitely made sure to like, our spirituality, morals are definitely like, that's what our foundation is built upon. Mm-hmm. And so you could be young and build something massive. Mm-hmm. And I want to do it with one person. Mm. If somebody, like, she loved me for when, like, I was working at Starbucks. Like, dude, when I proposed, I was working part-time at Starbucks. Like, what? And so that's how
if I was the father-in-law, I would have maybe had second thoughts.
Oh, trust me. That was my biggest fear. That's another story for another day, because that was, like, I was nervous. I was so nervous.
So you're married, you're 21, yes. You're working at Starbucks, and you're trying to figure out life. Why the insurance business?
Because, so he introduced me to this, and I was like, okay. And so I talked to one of his business partners, kind of, one of their vendors, and I was like, okay, like, how far could this go? Yeah. And so I started talking to him. He's like, yeah, I made my first 6 figures when I was 20. Ah. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, no way. And he's like, I started when I was 18, doing voluntary benefits, door-to-door, cold calling. And I was like, huh. And I was like, tell me about this more. And so we get in a meeting, start talking, and he's like, you legit could make 6 figures, like, doing this. And I was like, what? And when he explained the opportunity to me, when there's thousands of businesses out there, you need to capture like 0.1% to actually like make 6 figures. I was like, holy cow. So I got there and I was like, let's do this. Like, why not? And he's like, he supplemented. He gave me a little bit of salary while I was there, just like a little every 2 weeks, giving me something to start. Yeah. But then I jumped straight commission. And I found Mason Van Meter, who is I'm in his organization there at Symmetry. Yeah. Heard a lot of Symmetry and all this. So I was like, who is this? So then I was like, dang. Like, okay, let me reach out to him. So I found him on Power Players podcast, reached out to him.
So you're like YouTube and everything. You're trying to life hack this business, and you're YouTube and all this stuff.
Like, I'm pretty sure I watched like maybe 50% of Cody's videos. Like, I was like, I know his story. I've heard his stories 3 or 4 times. And so like when I was in Springfield, I was like impersonating him. Hey, remember this story? Remember that story? And the reason I'm here today at SWAT, and I found out about SWAT, is because I was imitating one of his things. Guts or guts, guts or guts, guts or guts. And he's like, that was at SWAT. And they're like, I was like, what's SWAT? And they're like, that's Nate's event. Yeah. So I'm like, Nate. And then you're like, you need to get in the room. And that's
keep connecting.
That's how we're here.
Yeah, now we're here. Now you're on the podcast.
It's crazy. Huh? Started listening, and now I'm here.
And you said you had a goal to get on the podcast, and now you're here. Look how quickly that happened. So your experience at the Ultimate Agent,
Yeah.
right? You're brand new. I mean, you've been literally been in the business 5 months, right?
Yeah.
5 months. And in this system, how long?
2 months.
2
months
months.
doing life.
2 months doing life. How much
Yep.
did you sell your first 30 days out of the gate?
So the first full month that I did, because I started like on the last week of the month,
Yeah.
but the first full month, I wrote 34,000 in premium.
34,000. And every
Yep.
dime of it issue paid.
Not all of it. Not all of
Not
it.
all of it.
No, and that's
Yeah.
like, in all honesty, like that's something that I'm working on right
Yeah.
now. Is like this month has been a lot better
Mhm.
in terms of issue paying.
Yeah, because you tell your wife, I sold 34,000, and she's like, why did we only make 10?
Yeah.
And literally, like, say, hey, why did we only make 10? That's a good problem, by the way.
Yeah.
$10,000 when you were working at Starbucks before, right?
Yep.
But you could fail and make $10,000 in this business.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Like, trust me, I had to work through that
Yeah.
for sure, and that's something I've been learning a lot. And now it's like written 14,000 this month, and it's issue paid.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm not having those numbers. Like these are actually, I know what carriers to use, how to do it, the underwriting. I was getting caught up in the underwriting stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
but honestly, like it's taught me so much. It was a humbling experience.
What was what's some of the biggest things you learned on the Ultimate Agent Challenge? And we're not giving anything away,
Yeah.
but what's some of the biggest things you learned there as a contestant on that? What were some of those things?
No, good question. Definitely, you can't cheat the process.
Mhm.
There's a system in place, and when you don't follow it, it's easy, especially in the Ultimate Agent contest. It's easy to get ahead of yourself because you want to make it, you want to keep going, and so like one thing that I found myself doing is skipping the process.
Mm-hmm.
I was building no rapport, asking for their social security number.
Yeah, I saw that happen.
Yeah.
We were together. I saw that happen live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was like, just, you need to do your work on the front end. And if you don't, it'll come back to bite you in the back.
Yep.
And there's multiple times that did happen.
Yep.
But I learned from it.
Yeah.
Like it was a huge growing experience. Yeah. Another thing I learned, one of my biggest takeaways, is that there's so many things that you can do in this life, but a lot of times we don't have the urgency to make it happen.
Yeah.
And being in a pressure cooker situation, all the pressure is going, like it's like a pressure cooker in there. Yeah. When all the pressure is going in that moment, it's like you just have to go. You gotta do it, but you gotta stay slow and controlled as well.
So let's give some context, because I know some people that are some of our viewers are watching today or listening, and they're like, what is this Ultimate? They don't have context. So 5 people were selected from around the country through applications, video auditions that were submitted. You guys were flown in to Springfield, and then you did a debrief session there, had a whole meeting about how the week was going to go, and then you were flown on a private jet to an undisclosed location. There was a full-on production crew there. You were mic'd up from day one, right? Everybody has mics on. Everybody has GoPros in their car, in the dashes of their car. There's cameras everywhere in the house. And then they bring in mentors and coaches to work with you. You guys have to do challenges to earn time with a coach. There's eliminations. People are crying. People are leaving. Some people are staying. Cameras on you 24/7, essentially. And so to say it was a pressure cooker isn't probably an understatement, because I felt it. When I arrived, I felt the same thing for you guys. So I was amazed at how much you guys were actually able to focus. We got to interview Patrice Shepard on another podcast episode, and she said the same thing. Like, you had to get into the zone in order to stay in your process, and it's easy to get out when you're not in your normal environment, right?
Big time.
So a lot of agents that are watching this or listening today, what would you say to people, because you just said something that triggered this thought, what would you say to people who think they have to have everything lined up correctly in order to be successful? Yeah,
my mentor told me from the first day, he said, go make as many mistakes as you can.
That's right.
And here's the biggest thing, one of the biggest takeaways is that you need to leave your ego at the door when you come into this business. And I tell a lot of people as I've done it, because I'm going through it, I've gone through a lot of it, but I'm still on the way.
Yeah.
And there's a learning curve you have to go through.
Yeah.
But you can't be prideful in that situation. It's your character has to be refined in that moment, in those processes.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, you're not going to know, like, I didn't know how to read a script. I didn't know my tonalities. I didn't know how to set an appointment. It was thrilling when I did set my first appointment. I was like, oh, let's go. And then it's like, that doesn't even guarantee that you're going to sell them.
Then they no-show
They
you.
no-show you. Exactly. My first day, set 7 appointments. I'm like, sweet, I'm feeling good. Just came back from like my first few days. I was at a boot camp. So I like intense training.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, sweet.
I got this.
7 appointments, boom, I'm ready. And definitely did not schedule within 48 hours. I scheduled one for like a week out, a few days out, whatever.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Set 23 appointments and 4 showed up.
Oh.
Talk about like just disappointment. Yeah, it's
all
like,
the air is going out of the balloon.
Let's go! I set these appointments. I'm like talking to Bailey, like, I had a great day, set 7 appointments. Let's go. We're making 6 figures this month. Let's go. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, that was like horrible. Like, talk about a trash show rate.
I love your energy.
Like, talk about a trash show rate. I'm like, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And so
what did that teach you?
You need to tie it down.
Yeah.
You can't rush the process.
That's right.
And I'm constantly taught that because I'm definitely like, I want it and I want it now. Instant gratification. Let's go. I see people doing it. And I see Josh Wiles do 100,000 in his first 30 days without seeing in a perspective of him making millions before. And so like, that's like perspective. I come into this comparison game. I'm like, he did that in 30 days. And like, I'm only writing $9,000 this week, like the comparison game. And so it's like constantly coming down to the basics, constantly going down to, I got to win. I got to beat myself from who I was yesterday.
What was the biggest thing you, name one of the most impactful interactions that you had on the challenge, or 1 or 2 of the most impactful interactions you had that you took away from there and you're like, that's given me something for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know, that meant something to me.
Well, I think big time, like just like the great, like having you, like being able to know you, being able to know Cody, being able to know Nate, and like Nate and I, like we're like the week after, we're on Zoom calls, like probably 2 or 3, and just talking almost every day.
Yeah.
Like, how can I do better at this? How can I do better at this? And so I think like that's something that's going to be irreplaceable for the rest of my life, is that I know that now I'm in this space, like I can't leave. Like, I don't want to leave.
You've got a network already established.
Well, yeah, that's like, I really don't take that for granted. I know people like spend a lot of money to be able to get this network, and I was given it for some reason. I know God's working some plan out. And so I think like that's one of the biggest things, is just the network, people I know, people like just seeing the mentors as well, like hearing your guys' thoughts, how you speak, taught me to really move at a different urgency. That's like one of the huge ones, I think, that you can accomplish so much. But it's like when I'm at home, working from home, it's like, and Bailey's at work, wherever she is, like I'm kind of just like it's a mental battle.
Yeah.
But I gotta think like, okay, what was it like when people were eyes on me, cameras going? How was I acting then versus now? And it's that self-accountability. It's that self-discipline that like, no matter what, I'm just going to keep going. And I have to hold myself accountable for that.
Yeah. What would you say is the value of having a good network or a good mentor through this process?
Yeah.
So I know you're connected to 2 or 3 of them inside of Symmetry.
Yeah.
And they're incredible assets to you. Speak to that for a minute.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have a lot of mentors and coaches and people who help me, and that's huge, because when you come into this business, you're not going to know everything, and you don't have to. You're not expected to. But it's part of leaving the ego at the door. I've learned over the course of like my short life, I've learned that you can ask people to like how to get better, because they want to teach you. They want to help you.
Yeah.
And like kind of frame it as like, how can they brag on themselves in a way?
Yeah.
And how do you overcome this? How do you overcome that? And people like to talk about themselves, but it helps me. I'm like, it's really like the biggest thing is leaving the ego at the door and being like, can you please help me? I really need some help here.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's huge. The greats weren't self-made. That's not a thing. They weren't self-made. They had a mentor, coach, somebody helping them.
Yep.
And honestly, it springboards that tremendously.
Sure.
Like when people realize that there's better people out there that they could learn from, it springboards, and I've seen that.
Yeah. What would you say to agents, people that are watching or listening on the podcast today, as far as what you see now, your opportunity or the opportunity in the business? I know it's personal for you, for Bailey, and your future. So first, what do you see for your future?
Yeah.
And what do you see the industry opportunity as a whole?
Yeah, big time. So if the first one, like knowing this opportunity, like we're young, we just got married 7 months ago, but Bailey quit her job because she sees the vision too. And she quit the 40-hour work week because the return on investment in this business can like 2 times, like just double what I'm able to do. So I'm able to really focus on the money-making activities and generate revenue, like just focus on that, not having to call the carriers trying to get things issued. And obviously that comes with the wisdom on the front end.
Yeah.
But I think like for us, like I can confidently say in 5 years I'll be a millionaire, because it's like you can set yourself up like that.
That's right.
You can really set yourself up. I never thought that, like, I knew I was going to be successful and there's a great thing that was going to happen in my life. And I was going to do great things, starting a clothing line at 18, like knowing that there's something else there, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be a business owner. I want to be able to do it. And this opportunity has helped me so much to be so confidently say, like, I'll be a millionaire in 5 years because of this opportunity. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of failures. That's one of the biggest things I've taken away here is you have to, all the greats failed.
That's right.
And they stack up the L's, and then the wins start coming. So that's for us. Like I just see, I'm working so hard now, and I see the future for us now, or I see the moment and the opportunity now that I don't want to miss my kids' games. I don't want to miss our future kids.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon, but in the future. I don't want to be that parent that was like working 80 hours a week, being like broke rich, I guess. They can't even spend their money because they're working. Like, I'm not trying to be that. I want to be able to build the financial freedom, the time freedom, to be able to, hey, let's go on vacation. Let's do this. Let's go travel. Let's go to Paris. Like, do these things, spend time with my kids. And I want to build in them like the entrepreneurial spirit. Like, it's not all about that. And so I think in terms of the industry, like just talk about in 2021, growing at 18%, $1 trillion industry, like that's huge. This makes the most millionaires. This has the most, like $1 trillion company. Like you just got to like get plugged in with the right people. Yeah. And you can, the ceiling's the roof. No, I'm just
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah. Your energy is contagious, man.
You're
You're so fired up about your future.
Yeah.
I love the energy you bring. I love how you talked about Bailey when we got some car time, some windshield time. Yeah. How you talked about the people that were important to you, your family, and why you were trying to be successful. Yeah. I commend you, man. You've got a bright, bright future.
I appreciate it.
I saw that, and it resonated with me, and I wanted to make sure that we got you to tell your story to the world.
Yeah.
Wow, looks like they're firing out there. The next session's getting ready to go. So again, we are live here at SWAT in Dallas, Texas. I'm with Johnny Nitafan and his bride, and it's been a pleasure, man, having you on the show today. Yeah. For those of you that want to connect with Johnny, how would they best connect with you? What's your Instagram?
My Instagram, Johnny Nitafan 1. But super live on TikTok. Feel free to reach out to me, 505-238-4062. Text me, call me, just whatever they want to do to be able to reach out to me. I'd love to work with anybody, help people, and
Boom. Dude, you got a bright future.
Thank you, man.
Stay hungry, stay humble, keep learning, stay connected to your mentors, and the sky's the limit.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for being on for another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast.